Everyone. This is the introductory session for the Master of Audiology. And so to start off today, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands upon which Flinders University is based and upon which we're meeting today, the Kaurna people, and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. So first up, I'm required to play you the emergency evacuation video for this area in FMC. So we'll do that as the very first task. Hopefully I can link to that, which was working previously. Let's try again. Okay.
Hi, today I'm here to talk to you about the emergency evacuation procedures at Flinders University. This short video will guide you through what to do in the event of an emergency to ensure an orderly and safe evacuation.
All right, the principles of narrative unity.
When you hear the alert tone, please cease interfloor movement and await further instructions via the public announcement system or from the warden.
That would be our first warning signal. Please stay calm and I'll proceed with the lecture. These involve
when you hear the evacuation tone, please immediately cease what you are doing, pack up your personal belongings and listen to your lecturer or the warden for instructions on evacuating the building. Look for the green running man and exit signs, and ensure you take the most direct route to exit the building while avoiding areas that may be affected by fire. It is important not to run when leaving the building. Lifts cannot be used in the case of a fire. Please use the stairs. Disabled, aged and injured persons who are unable to descend stairs should take refuge in the stairwell, ensuring not to block the way out. Staff will advise the fire service accordingly. Once you have exited the building, please move to the assembly point. Please do not return to the building until you have been told it is safe to do so. If you have any questions about this presentation, please ask your lecturer or warden.
Okay, and from time to time there are drills as well, so you may be lucky or unlucky to participate in one of those. So the plan for today is this first session, we'll have some introductions to our core staff, and also I'll provide you with general information about the course. We will have a break at around about 11, and I have some of our current second year students coming to give you some tours of the building and the teaching spaces that we use here in FMC and possibly around the university. It's a little bit going to be rather warm today, so it may be rather optional to venture outside, I think. And the afternoon session, again, I'll be talking to you about our teaching method that we use called inquiry-based learning, and then we'll break you into small groups to have practice sessions of this teaching method. So the audiology team, our core team, they're all here today to introduce themselves. You will see a lot of them throughout the 2 years of the course. We also, of course, have a number of casual academics that you'll also be working with. Our core team, all of us are qualified audiologists, and all of us still work in some capacity in a clinical setting. as well as teaching you the academic program. So we have our Professor of Audiology, Mridula Sharma, who's quite recently joined the team at Flinders. Myself as course coordinator and student engagement coordinator. Fleur Golder is our placement education coordinator. Dr. Eloise Doherty, the teaching specialist in academic areas. And Sarah Wallace, who's also a teaching specialist in clinical areas. So I'll just ask each of them to give a brief introduction. And then what we'll do is ask each of you just to give us a little bit of information about yourselves. So you'll start to get to know us and you'll start to get to know each other, and we'll begin to get to know you. So,
I'm going to go back to the slides with the names again.
Sure.
Hi, so I'm Mridula, and that's the name there with the weird MR together, not a combination you see in English. So yeah, so if somebody says, no, that's not MR, it is. So like Karen said, I've recently joined, so I'm a newbie, just like you guys. Actually, some of you may have done undergrad here, so you're probably not a newbie, but I'm definitely am and learning my ropes here. So if you see me wandering around, I might be lost. Tell me where to go. So like I said, I am an audiologist, and my area of research is looking at, what your brain does. So maybe if I did an EEG right now to maybe at 11 o'clock when you're completely exhausted and ready for a break, there might be some differences. That would be fun to look at, isn't it? What tiredness does to our EEG in general. So my interest is looking at what auditory sound does that to your EEG, and can we use that to perhaps look at your ability to learn language, your ability to hear. And I'll be teaching you research methods next year. So, well, I might be doing some little bit here and there even in the first year, so you will see me pop up now and then. Are there any questions for me? Definitely no questions on geography. I won't know. So, okay. Should I pass it on to Karen then? No? Eloise? Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Eloise Doherty. So I'm the teaching specialist academic on the team, which means you'll see an awful lot of me throughout your degrees. So I have a clinical background. I started off working in diagnostic clinics and hospital clinics and working with a range of pediatrics and adult clients. But my background prior to being an audiologist was actually music. So I sit in this really interesting area with dual training. So for me, my research interest has been those links between hearing loss, music and auditory processing, which is exactly what I did my PhD on. So you'll be spending a lot of time with me. I coordinate most of the first year topics, not all of them. You'll have Fleur for some of those as well. And you'll see me for a whole range of different subject areas, from all of your foundation sciences, so acoustics, psychoacoustics, anatomy, right through to professional and clinical skills. So you get to see me for lots of different things, and I really love the variety of things that I get to work with you on to help you develop as clinicians.
All right. So yes, hi everyone, I'm Fleur. So I am also get to see you a lot in first year because I'm the topic coordinator for Clinical Audiology 1 and then Clinical Audiology 2 in semester 2. I'm also the placement coordinator, education coordinator, so work a lot on finding your placements and supporting you while you're on placement. I also have a clinical background, so I've worked in numerous sort of clinical settings and still do some clinical work in our in-house clinic here called Health to Go, along with Sarah. But I've done adults, rehab, hearing aids, cochlear implants, paediatrics. I do now also do a day a week for the Women's and Children's Health Network, doing some sort of project work for them as well. So yes, you definitely will see me a lot in first year, mostly for sort of that real sort of clinical stuff. both lectures for Audiology 1 and 2, as well as the practical sessions for Clinical Audiology 1 and 2. So I look forward to getting to know you a lot better this year.
Hello everyone, my name's Sarah. My background's actually in speech pathology, but now I work purely in audiology. I've worked in public and private settings in the Northern Territory and in South Australia as well. You'll see me on Monday afternoon in the pracs with Fleur, as well as on school screening placements and also Health to Go, as Fleur mentioned before. So you'll see quite a bit of me this year as well, and I look forward to getting to know you all.
Thanks, Sarah. And yes, I'm Karen Sparrow. Note the pronunciation with a long A. My background is in psychology and languages. That was my original undergraduate degree. Before becoming an audiologist, I worked originally here in Adelaide with, in what is now known as Hearing Australia, and then I actually moved overseas to Europe and lived and worked there as an audiologist for quite a number of years. Returned to Australia to do some research, a research masters, and more recently, but still many years ago now, I came to Flinders and was working part-time in the clinic, working in hearing aid rehabilitation. That's been my main area of practice. And also then I began working at Flinders, and that over the course of a number of years became my primary position. So you'll see more of me in terms of teaching in the second year around hearing aids and oral rehabilitation. So an area of research, I've more recently completed a PhD, and my area of interest there is oral rehabilitation, communication, sociolinguistics, so analysing communication, discourse, conversation, also with a focus on the non-verbal information that we convey during interactions. And I am currently the course coordinator, so I have oversight of the teaching and learning and of your experience and progress as students. Okay. Oops. Okay. So now we'd be keen to hear from each of you. If you could just briefly tell us your name, your preferred first name, where you're from, perhaps your undergraduate degree, and briefly why you've decided to embark upon this journey in the Master of Audiology.
Start with a volunteer. Otherwise we'll pick. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yay!
Thank you. Well done. Do you want to
Hey
sit?
guys,
There's chairs there as well.
my name is Fatma Ona. Originally from Sudan, moved to Adelaide for uni from Canberra, and I did my undergrad here in disability development education, but I exited with a disability community inclusion degree. And I chose audiology because I went to one when I was little, and so when it was time to choose a career, I looked into it. It just kind of piqued my interest.
Mm-hmm.
So my name is Faye, and I am from the Philippines. I took accounting as my bachelor's degree. It's totally different. So I took my master's in audiology because I think it's very interactive and it's very interesting.
Hello guys, my name is Yiran and I'm from Suzhou, China, and I have linguistics background. The reason I chose audiology because I have a younger cousin who has a hearing disorder, and he got a lot of help from audiologists, and it inspired me deeply, and I really want to help people to make a difference in people's life. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Alena. I'm from India. and I've done my bachelor's in audiology and speech language pathology. It's a dual degree in India, actually. The main thing that I chose audiology for master's is because I have the same field in bachelor's. So yeah.
Hi everyone, my name's Fatima. I'm from Adelaide and I have an undergraduate degree in medical science. I'm studying audiology because I have a passion for languages.
Hi everyone, my name is Lin Shuhui. I'm from Shandong, China, and my background is in medical imaging, and I worked in the hospital for a year, and I found that a lot of people in my small town didn't get really helpful in their listening disorders, so I think I may take this degree to work better for them, and also it is a very interesting topic and very interactive. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Meijing Li. I'm from Zhejiang, China. My bachelor degree is art design. It's very difficult to step into the new field, and I choose audiology. I want to help people not only their physical but also mental. And I'm glad to see you in the next class. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Kim. I'm also from Adelaide. My undergraduate degree is a Bachelor of Health and Medical Science in Neuroscience, and I chose audiology in a bit of a roundabout way. When I was trying to figure out what I wanted to study, my mum suggested speech pathology, and I didn't know what that was, but she explained it to me as, oh, you help people swallow, and I thought, you're not really selling this to me. So I looked into it a bit more and I found audiology is closely related, and I thought that probably suits me a bit more. I have a little background in music, and when I was doing my neuroscience degree, I was really interested in the auditory neuroscience topics, and so yeah, decided to pursue it.
Hi everyone, my name's Christina. I'm from Adelaide. My undergraduate degree was medical science, and I also did a Bachelor of Letters in Health as well, which is kind of like a public health add-on. And I decided to study audiology because I do casual work at a medical clinic, and we do host an audiology office there. And I always thought it was super, super interesting to hear about what they do every day, and that's why I'm here.
Hi everyone, my name's Bella. I'm also from Adelaide. I studied a Bachelor of Medical Science at Flinders last year, and I am interested in audiology because I have a couple friends that are hard of hearing, and it's just something that's always kind of piqued my interest, so I thought I would study it. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Monica. I'm from Adelaide as well. My undergraduate degree was a Bachelor of Psychological Science, and I guess like during my undergrad degree, I had a lot of elective spots, and I guess I picked up linguistics subjects, and so I had like some sort of general interest in that area, and yeah, I thought that the clinical aspect of audiology was really interesting, and yeah.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Joyu, and you can call me Alice. I'm from Taiwan, and I have been in Adelaide about 1 year. My undergrad degree was tourism. That's totally different. But after I graduate, I find I want to have some different in my life and in my future career. So that's the reason I choose to study audiology. And I think it must it's a rewarding job, and I believe that the uni is the best to study. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Renee, and I've been in Adelaide about a year. We moved from Darwin previously, 4 years. My husband's defence, so we tend to shift around a bit. I did my undergrad a long time ago in education, and after having kids I'm ready to get back into the workforce and ready for career change, and audiology has always been an interest of mine since before I did my undergrad, so here I am.
Hello everyone, my name is Yawen Li. I'm come from China, like Xinjiang, China. And so my undergraduate degree was like was majoring in environmental studies, and I do audiology just for like it sounds interesting for me, like seems interesting, and so yeah, here I am. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Emily. I'm from Adelaide. I did my undergraduate in music in classical performance, so have been a freelance musician and a music teacher for eight or so years now, and was looking for a career change, and have always loved the idea of how music is related to hearing and hearing loss and that kind of stuff. I think it's really cool. So yeah.
Hi, my name's Ru, and I'm from Malaysia. I've did my undergrad degree in biomedical sciences in Brisbane. I just came over a few days ago in Adelaide. And why I chose audiology is because I've worked casually in like a clinical setting, and I really enjoyed the patient interaction and the clinical applications. And audiology has been an interest when I was studying my biomed. So yep, here I am.
Hello, I'm Linda. I'm from Adelaide. I've got a double degree in education and science, and I'm interested in audiology because I've got a passion for music, language, linguistics, and it's a growing area, so it's just something I'm interested in doing, and I also want to work in health as well. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kaylee. I'm from Adelaide, and my undergraduate degree was in speech pathology. I decided to study audiology because audiology was a subject that we only studied for about half a semester, but it was really interesting, so I thought I'd study it a bit further.
Hi, my name is Vivian, and I'm from Adelaide as well, and my undergraduate degree was Bachelor of Medical Science in Vision Science. And I guess I decided to audiology because I do casually work alongside optometrists and audiologists, so audiology is something that sparked my interest.
Hi, my name's Tommy. I was born and raised here in Adelaide. My undergraduate degree was psychological science at University of Adelaide. I garnered some interest in audiology from my cousins and a couple of friends, and I did my own extensive research as well. And I thought it's a really rewarding job and career path.
Is that everybody? Okay. I think that's everyone. Okay, thank you everyone. I think we might now, before we continue, we might just have a 5-minute break for you if you want to pop out. There are toilets to the left as you exit the lecture theatre. And if you haven't yet got a name tag, I think most people have, but if you haven't, if you write one out on the table at the back there. Okay, and if your name's not on the list, then do let me know. Okay, we'll see you back in 5 minutes, or chat amongst yourselves. The slides. Okay. So our discipline of audiology sits within the College of Nursing and Health Sciences. So there are a number of colleges across the university, and some of you have studied within other colleges. But our college office, College of Nursing and Health Sciences, is actually based at Sturt. So most of the disciplines in our college are based at the Sturt campus, which is to the north. So those of you that have all driven in via University Drive, you would have noticed some buildings to your left, and they are the Sturt buildings or the Sturt campus. At the moment, it's only audiology and speech pathology that have most of their teaching and their academic offices here within the Flinders Medical Centre. So we have administrative staff that do assist us in various capacities, and they're located in the administrative area at Sturt. So we will give you an email as well in the coming slides. That is the contact email if you have inquiries, matters that need to be attended to by the administrative staff. Okay, so we have our academic offices up on level 7. We had a move from one end of the corridor to the other a year or so ago. So we're now at the northern end of the corridor. So if you have an appointment with a staff member, it may well be that you meet up in that area in their office or one of the small meeting rooms that we have there. So on your tours, you'll be shown as well where to go if you do need to access that area. We are, as you know, based in Flinders Medical Centre. So Flinders University as an entity, as an organisation, is a separate organisation to Flinders Medical Centre. Okay? Flinders Medical Centre is a hospital, whereas Flinders University obviously is the university. But we, in our discipline, work within this hospital building. So we do, in audiology, have quite a close relationship with the audiologists who work within the medical centre, and you will have placements here within the medical centre that are Flinders Medical Centre run clinics. And you will on occasion also have some lectures from the audiologists that work within the medical centre. For example, we have a cochlear implant program here, and the senior audiologist in that program will at some point be lecturing to you. So some of the facilities we're actually sharing. So in the clinic area that you'll be shown as well today, and where you'll have your clinical pracs with Fleur this year, that area is also shared. So the hospital staff also use those booths, those testing areas, for their work with outpatients. So it's always important to be aware that members of the public are also using or moving through that area as well as yourselves. And the offices of the Flinders Medical Centre staff are up on level 6, and mainly in second year we do use some of the clinic rooms that they have there as well. In first year, mostly when you have a placement with them, you may well be asked to meet on that level 6 area. But that's the area where their administrative staff work, where they have offices, and where their patients or their clients have a waiting area. So most of your teaching will be within this building, but there are some exceptions. There's another lecture theatre or set of teaching rooms a little bit up the hill towards the main campus. and what we call the Health Sciences building as well. There's a small lecture theatre there that we will on occasion use. And I think some classes that you'll have with Eloise this year may even be in a lecture theatre in the main campus. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure on teaching spaces, a lot of classes happening, so we may need to go to a different area, but we'd give you information and instructions about that beforehand, of course. Level 5, as I mentioned, there are the clinic areas, the audiology booths. So we do have actual soundproofed rooms in which there is equipment, in which we run practical sessions, and in which some FMC clinics are run. In the past, we've also run our own clinics in that area, but we now have a dedicated allied health clinic based at Sturt that Sarah mentioned, Health to Go. So all our clinical work with patients, with clients, takes place at Health to Go. A medical library is based here within this building. So there's the main large university library is up the hill in the main campus, but we also have a medical library here within this building. So a lot of the information, the books, the hard copy resources that you will need are here. And of course, there's also a lot online. But the library, and again, your tour should show you the library. There are spaces to work in the library or rooms where you can meet with other students, as well as having the physical resources. Okay, so a little bit about the philosophy behind our Master of Audiology course. It's what we call an inquiry-based learning curriculum. Now, we have actually changed the name for this year from problem-based learning, which some of you may have heard of. Has anyone come across that term? A couple of nods? Yeah. So problem-based learning, as it has been typically known as, is exactly the same thing as what we're calling now inquiry-based learning. This is simply because of keeping in line, better in line with language conventions as they are now, and taking away the concept of always there being a problem. So this is a learning method that is largely driven by you as the students. So it recognises the experiences and the knowledge from your backgrounds, from your undergraduate degrees, as well as your lived experience. It brings that into the learning experience. So the emphasis is on group work, so working in small groups of students. So the important concepts are the idea of adult learning and lifelong learning. So your learning skills that will benefit you throughout your clinical and audiology careers. So we'll be talking in more detail about EBL in the lecture, in the session this afternoon. So you will actually be practicing this afternoon. There will be session 1 of EBL. So we will be dividing you into small groups. And we have some experienced EBL tutors who will be helping to guide you through the process. And next week, week 1, Tuesday morning, you will begin your very first EBL case. So the concepts within this EBL approach, which are very much independent learning, and the ability to reflective practice, apply and use in other aspects of the course as well. But all the learning is really centred around those EBL cases. So just an outline of the topics that you do. Now, I think you're all enrolled in Year 1 topics. So in this first semester, you have 3 topics. The first one, Audiology 1, is a larger topic, a 9-unit topic, and the other 2 are 4.5-unit topics. So the Audiology 1, you will have Eloise as your topic coordinator. And you can see there, I've already slipped up and I haven't changed PBL to EBL. I think that will be probably a frequent occurrence for us, staff, in this first phase of the change of name. So EBL cases form the basis of that topic, but there are associated sessions, lectures and other activities as part of that topic. Okay. Typically, the lectures, the associated sessions that might relate to a particular case come deliberately after the case, because we want you to be exploring and learning about what arises in a particular case yourselves before we help to consolidate some of that knowledge and understanding in a more of a lecture type session. So some of the activities, we're changing a little bit. We do some of the sessions in that we have had in the past a lot of face-to-face associated sessions or lectures, but we're looking at moving gradually more towards perhaps having some pre-recorded content that you view, that you look at as a recording, and then bringing you in for more interactive class sessions. Clinical Audiology 1 is the topic that Fleur will coordinate. So you will undertake clinical skills classes from week 1. So from Monday you will have your first class which looks at otoscopy. That is the examination of the ear canal and the eardrum. So those will be scheduled each week on Mondays, usually in association with a lecture that directly addresses the particular clinical skill that you'll be undertaking in the afternoon. Clinical placements are also part of this topic, although in this semester there are relatively few clinical placements. We're really preparing you with the basic skills so that you can in second semester undertake some more clinical placements. But you'll find out more about the placements on Friday and the following week. On Friday, I think you all would have received an email now from Susan Main, who's our coordinator of the clinical placements within the college. If you haven't yet received an email from her, you can let me know a little later. But she sent out some information about what we call compliance requirements. So there are a lot of requirements that you need to go through and upload your evidence, your information regarding such things as vaccinations, various online courses that you need to complete before you're considered ready for clinical placements. So this can take a little bit of time. So in these initial weeks, you'll have your Wednesdays and Thursdays largely free, so that you do have time to complete all the requirements. So if you have questions about that, there will be this session on Friday that will help to address those. So the other topic is Professional Studies 1. And again, Eloise will be your topic coordinator. Again, this involves some independent work as well as classroom sessions. So an important topic that addresses a range of issues that relate closely to your clinical practice and understanding of professional issues. And then in semester 2, very similar organisation of the topics there. Audiology 2, Clinical Audiology 2, Professional Studies 2. So each of the topics has what we call a statement of assessment methods. And this is available on our Flinders Learning online site. So a statement of assessment methods sets out the assessments and the learning objectives of that particular topic and how they relate to one another. So your topic coordinators will also spend time in class next week talking to you about the learning objectives of each topic and the assessments that will be spread throughout the semester. Are there any questions so far? Please put up your hand if you do have a question or you haven't understood something that I've said. When the placements will start? Yeah, so in term 2, there may be some placements. Yeah. Initially, in first year, there may be half day, maybe full day placements on a Wednesday or a Thursday. Okay. But you won't necessarily have a placement every week. We are also increasing the amount of what we call simulation type placements, and Fleur will be organising some of those. So even if you're not actually in an actual clinic, you will have some sessions which are designed to be a simulation of a clinical, so you can practice your skills. Yes.
Are the placements usually isolated to the Flinders and surrounding area, or are they all over?
No, they can be all over Adelaide. So it does vary from year to year, as you can appreciate, and I'm sure Fleur will talk to you about. It is a challenge. For any allied health degree, it's a challenge to find placements and find enough placements. So, and we have second years. When you're in second year, you do a block placement, which is a longer placement over a period of 4 or 5 weeks. So Adelaide is still relatively small. So we are constantly sourcing and seeking placements. Yeah, but you will have likely fewer placements in first year. It's not until second year you really have the intense experience of a longer placement. But yeah, Fleur will talk to you more about the sorts of placements we have. We do have them here at Medical Centre. We run them ourselves, Health to Go. There are visits that Sarah Wallace, who you met this morning. She's just actually gone out on a visit with some second year students to one of the metropolitan schools to assess Aboriginal children. So we do have a program of each week during the school terms, 4 students will go out to assess Aboriginal children within different schools. So you'll all likely undertake one of those placements, if not in the second half of this semester, certainly next semester. And otherwise, we have a number of hearing aid rehabilitation clinics around Adelaide that take students on placement. The hospital here, yes, we do have a hospital, the Royal Adelaide Hospital, but they have a very small audiology department, so are not able to offer a lot of placements there. Yeah. Okay, so were there any more questions about that? Flinders Learning Online. So this is the online system. I'm sure at your, or many of you at your undergraduate university, wherever that was, would have had some online presence and resources. So this is the Flinders system. So we've recently actually changed from what was more, I believe, a Moodle system to a Canvas system. So those of you that there were a number who have been at Flinders, you would have started using, I imagine, Canvas, now again called Flow, last year. Is that correct? Yep, a couple of nods. Yep. So we began changing over second half of last year, but now all our topics are in this new system. So we're learning a bit about how to use it as well as staff and set up the online sites. But essentially when you log in to your Okta, you can use your FAN and your password to access the system, and you'll be able to see your topics displayed, and you can click on those and enter the topic, and there you will find a lot of generic information. You will also find that we will set out the modules, as they're called, by week, and this is where the information about your lecture type handouts will go, or any other materials that are important for that particular week and the sessions in that week. You will also have a section that is labelled EBL materials, and this is where your information that you need, what we call the case disclosures, will be available on time release for your EBL sessions. This is also where you will have information about assignments and where you actually upload your assignments. And your SAMs, your Statement of Assessment Methods, is accessible here. And also any lecture recordings. So typically all our lecture type sessions will be recorded. As you can see here, the red light is on, so this is being recorded. So that if you are unable to attend a class live, that you are able to access the recording. So in terms of the academic year, we do broadly follow, at least this year, the university dates. Second year is a little bit different. So we have our teaching periods. So we have, or we talk about terms, term 1, term 2, then the mid-year break, term 3 and term 4. And we adhere to the same examination and supplementary exam periods. There are the odd variations. So teaching this week, we are starting, and our second years already started with their EBL on Monday. So next year, just keep in mind, make a note that you will be starting in the orientation week on the Monday. You'll be starting classes, and our topics actually start this week. On occasion, sometimes internal exams may be held in what's more typically the SWAT back week. And yeah, at the end of second year, we also advise people not to disappear, not to leave Adelaide until around about mid-December. So we have to ensure at the end of the course that you have acquired all the clinical hours that you need, that are a requirement of our professional body, Audiology Australia. Yes, so it's probably a good idea just to check with me or one of the staff before you do go ahead and book any holidays or trips. Or some of you may, in the breaks, want to consider returning to your home country if you're from overseas. So perhaps just check with us if you're considering that. Okay, so timetables. I'd sent out the generic type timetable as well as the timetable for this week. So that gives you a broad overview of the sessions. For the individual topics, you'll get some more detail and more specifics, because there will be some sessions where perhaps it's booked into the timetable, your online timetable, but it may be that that particular session is going to be more independent study. So you will get information either posted on Flow or directly from your topic coordinators about the schedules for a particular topic. So participation, meaning contribution to EBL sessions, is a requirement, and we do have assessments that are connected with that. So it is the expectation that you attend every EBL session so that and prepare for each of those EBL sessions. Clearly, sometimes there may be extenuating circumstances, or you may be ill. So the important thing there is to notify people in your group, your tutor, and also ensure that you're able to catch up and prepare the work and contribute at a subsequent tutorial. So attendance at clinic that you're rostered onto is also a requirement. We can't have people, unless of course you're ill on the day or extenuating circumstances, but if we schedule you for clinic, the expectation is you do turn up to the clinic. We do recommend that all the timetabled sessions, that you do attend those also. We understand that these days are quite tough financially, and many of you will need to do some sort of part-time work. We recognise that, but we do hope that you can balance that with your attendance at classes. And also, as we say, there will be some pre-recorded content, and lectures are recorded if it is difficult for you to manage attendance at a particular session. But clearly, if you're there live in person, it's much easier to ask questions and to participate in the activities and the discussion. Okay, and we do, as part of developing your professional persona and behaviours, punctuality is of course expected. So over the last few years, we've talked a lot about COVID-19 restrictions, but those have largely been removed and lifted. There are still clinical compliance requirements, and you'll find in different clinical settings there may be different requirements in terms of particularly mask wearing. It is still important to consider or to stay away if you are unwell. We would always recommend. And you will see staff or other students from time to time wearing a mask if they feel that they might have been exposed or they have very slight symptoms. Even if they've done a RAT test and it's negative, it's quite acceptable if you wish to wear a mask as a precaution. And you will find down on level 4, did anyone come in the level 4 entrance? Yeah, you'll see there's a whole rack, or 2 racks I think at the moment, of masks. So if you need a mask, they're available there. Yeah, in relation to absences, as I mentioned, it is best practice to notify particularly your EBL group members and your tutor. For example, if you're unable to attend or if there are extenuating circumstances, you suddenly become ill, so that they know where you are and what's happening. So I did mention in my email to you that it is a pretty full-time course, so that trying to have that balance, as we understand that you often need to do casual work to support yourselves. Ideally, try and keep that to a couple of shifts a week and out of the usual university hours where possible. So we really want you to engage with the course, engage with the content, enjoy your study, enjoy your interaction with your peers, and achieve a good level of skill and knowledge by the end of first year. And it is a requirement that you pass all the first year topics before you can enter second year. So they're all formal prerequisites, because we need you to be at a good level before, for example, you go into your block placements. So we do use quite a diverse range of assessments, and these are closely tied to our learning objectives for each topic. So we have in recent times also made some changes to our assessments. So some of the assessments you're doing maybe are quite a new type of assessment. but we endeavour to keep them quite diverse. So you may have written exams, but you'll also have clinical, practical type demonstration. You'll have written assignments. You may have to create a presentation, for example, and so on. Okay, so as I mentioned, we will go over each topic with you in more detail through the course of next week. Assignments usually require a cover sheet, which we'll make available for you on Flow, that is attached to your electronic submission of the assignment on Flow. There is information also about extension requests, or you can actually use the link in Flow to submit an extension request if that is what you require. And it's just important to note any extensions need to be requested before the due date. So we have Flinders grading system, which is very similar to other universities. Another important topic is academic integrity and its breaches, which we take very seriously at Flinders. And Eloise will be talking in more detail to you about this topic on Friday. So essentially, in summary, any sharing or receiving of information or notes or documents from another cohort of our students or from one another or a graduate is considered a breach of academic integrity. Now, I'm sure you've all heard of ChatGPT, the use of artificial intelligence is something that is being talked about a great deal in recent months over the last year. So using ChatGPT to, for example, create or other form of artificial intelligence to create an assignment is also considered a breach of academic integrity. Contract cheating, this is where if someone is paid or employed to write an assignment for you, then this is also a very serious breach of academic integrity. So the work you submit needs to be your own work. So there are, I think some of you might be familiar with Grammarly. Grammarly in the basic version is acceptable, but in the more advanced version that you actually pay for, that uses artificial intelligence. So that's not acceptable. Okay. So there is also a lot of information on Flow about academic integrity. There is a module that's been newly created, I believe, that is on the new Flow system. So you will be required to actually undertake that module, so you have a full understanding of what we mean by academic integrity and breaches of academic integrity. But as I said, Eloise will talk to you also on Friday so that you're very clear on the expectations. So as I mentioned in my email to you, there aren't actually any set texts. You can, of course, if you wish to purchase a book or an e-book that are becoming much more common these days, you can do so. But the library has a great deal of resources. So there are hard copy books, but also many of the books and the newer editions you'll find are available electronically, and you can even download individual chapters of a book electronically. Of course, we will be expecting that you'll use journal articles, research articles. So the library has a great deal of resources of databases that you can access these articles without cost to yourselves. But although there's a lot online, don't be afraid of actually going physically into the library to have a look as well. So we ask you on the student system to make sure that you do have up-to-date information, contact information. So sometimes we might need to get in touch with you. We typically will send emails, but there may be instances as well where perhaps we need to call you. So do have that information up to date on the system. Many of you, I'm sure, probably receive your emails on your phone these days, but if you don't do that, do endeavour to check your email regularly for additional information. So we don't use, and we're not allowed to use your private emails, so I think all of you now will have your FAN and your university email, so that's the email that we need to use when we communicate with one another. It's best to, yes, contact any staff member that you might want to speak with or have a private meeting with by email first of all, and then a time can be arranged and a place for the meeting. Okay. So we're very happy to do that. I think you'll find all the staff, those that you met this morning, are very approachable. So don't hesitate if you have questions, if you have concerns, that you do get in touch with us. We're lucky that we have relatively small classes in audiology, and so you will get to know each other well, and you'll get to know us quite well. So don't hesitate to ask for assistance or help. So there are support services, and I have another few slides shortly that I'll show you about some of the support services. But the email I mentioned earlier, nhsinquiries@flinders.edu, this will go to the administrative staff for our college that are based physically at Sturt. So they have a number of staff, probably about 5 staff, that may respond to your email. Sometimes there may be a little wait, but they do check the email very regularly, constantly. But of course our college is actually quite a large college. There are many, many nursing students, so there are many students that they're dealing with as well. Services include, and this is up the hill on the main campus, our student health service. There are also counselling and disability services. Student Learning Centre, there are more really resources these days online, and a range of other activities and services, a lot of which are based up the hill, as we say, on the main campus. You might have noticed, if you had a wander around here, that there are some lockers in the area, which is actually the entrance to the clinical area. So they are available. I'm not quite sure of the current fee, but you can request a locker, so you can leave some of your books or other material here at the university or during the day if you don't want to carry everything around with you. So you can hire a locker for the duration of your studies. We will also be asking in the course of the next couple of weeks for volunteers to be student representative for the class. So the role there is really as a link between the class, the cohort as a whole, and the staff, or me in particular as the course coordinator. I've also got a couple of abbreviations up there, FUSPA and FERS. So there are student groups that organise activities from time to time. There's the Flinders University Speech Pathology and Audiology Association. I believe, however, they've sort of fallen into not doing anything more recently. So I'd encourage you, we actually a couple of years ago, we had one of our audiology students was president of FUSPA. So I'd encourage you to get involved, maybe help to get the club up and running again. So if I have any further information, I'll certainly pass it on to you. FERS is the Flinders University Rural Health Society. That's another student club organisation that will organise various activities as well. Audiology Australia. Audiology Australia is our peak professional body for audiologists within Australia. So they have a website. All the audiologists here are members, full members of Audiology Australia, and they also are the accrediting body. So we have, as a course, need to be accredited every 5 years to continue as a course. So it's a way of evaluating the quality of the course and ensuring that it meets the required standards. So you can apply to be student members. So you apply through their website, and it's very low cost while you're a student. Certainly increases a lot once you're a full member. But they certainly also have useful resources. They also run student sessions. In fact, you will be having one of their staff come and speak to you in the coming week or couple of weeks, which will be in your professional studies topic, I believe. So it is much easier if you join now as a student in order to, once you graduate, to transition to full membership. But also there will be, from time to time, there may be access to some scholarship money for your placements. Also next year, in fact, is our big national conference. And guess where it is? In Adelaide. So by that stage, you'll be well into second year, and they do usually offer scholarships for attendance. But being in Adelaide, of course, you won't need to travel, and there is a student rate for registration. So it would be an excellent opportunity for participation there and networking, etc. So that will be in, I think, May next year. Okay. It's just some security numbers. Okay, and Friday's session. So are there any other questions before I show you some slides, which I'll also post on Flow, about the services around the university and activities? Any other questions? So it might all seem like quite a lot of information in one go. Right, you can just talk amongst yourselves for a couple of minutes if anyone needs to go out for a moment. I'll just get this other presentation ready. These slides in the last few minutes. So this is put together by the college. So we have the orientation. Okay, so we do have a network. So most of you, I'm sure, have laptops, and you can access the internet via what's called Eurodam. So it's a wireless network. We do find in some rooms in FMC it doesn't seem to work terribly well, but generally you should be able to, some of you may be online now, be able to access that using your FAN and password. So there is a link there. If you're having difficulty accessing that or you need help setting it up. Okay, so there is something called Compass that you should be able to access. And this is where we don't generally ask you to register for classes. So our EBL groups and our prac groups, for example, we organise those. So we'll arrange for you to be in a certain EBL group, but they're all run at the same time. All our classes generally are run at the same time. Practical groups, there are usually 2 groups, I think, in the afternoon. And again, Fleur will tell you more about that and generally will organise that. So you'll also need to organise an ID card, and you can in this system order your ID card. Okay. You can also, I believe, go up to the main campus. I'm not quite sure how they organise it in terms of the photo, because you will need a photo taken. So have a look at this information on the internet. We will also be asking you, I think Eloise has put up on your Audiology 1 topic, Audi 9100, she's put up a link to a document where we'd like you to enter your name and details and also upload a photo of yourself. so that we have a set of photos and we know, who's who, so it will help us learn your names more quickly. So your ID card will, for example, give you access to borrowing in the library. It can be set up to access the central library as well, I believe, out of hours, for example. And it will have you also need the ID card when you're, for example, attending a central examination. And this includes not only your photo, but of course your ID number. Okay, I think you've all enrolled, so that's no longer applicable. And this is the flow that I was talking about, so you can access that here by flow.flinders@edu.au. So as it says there, yes, we might slip back to calling it Canvas, which we were at the end of last year, but now it's being called Flow, again, simply standing for Flinders Online Learning. So all your topics, your 3 topics for this semester, the Canvas, the Flow sites will now be active. You will find some material already in Audiology 1, Audi 9100, and possibly the other sites as well. So go and have a look and explore. We as staff are still doing some work in setting them up and making them user-friendly. But you will find a lot of information there, as I mentioned before. I think there is also orientation planner, might be worth looking at. There are activities running at Sturt and on the main campus during this week that you might like to attend or go and explore. I think the weather is going to be a little cooler tomorrow and Friday. So if you have the time, the opportunity, go and have a look as well at the main campus and or at Sturt. So parking, some of you may be driving and you need to, there are different ways of paying for parking. There's what's called the Cello Park, where you can pay on a casual basis, or you can get a year-long or a semester-long permit. So have a look at that link for further information. Obviously, you've all arrived here today, so no doubt those of you who've come by bus have worked out which bus and where the bus stops. Buses do go to the top of the hill, the main campus, but also buses will arrive at the main entrance to the hospital. So that may be more convenient for some of you. And then you can walk through the hospital to this area here. And we do also now have a train service. Has anyone come on the train today? No? There's a train station which is to the north, just outside the Flinders Private Hospital. So there's quite easy access from the train station as well into this building. There is also a loop bus that does go between the Sturt main campus and FMC, as well as Tonsley. Okay. So, yeah, there's valuable information regarding public transport on the internet. If you have any difficulties, you can ask me where you might find more information. and work out the best way to get to Flinders. Okay, there is some information here you might like to have a look at the sorts of scholarships potentially that might be available to you. There's also very much an awareness of safety on campus at Flinders. So be aware of making, if necessary, making a complaint. And of course the health and counselling disability services. So some of you may already have a GP outside the university, but there are GPs here working on the main campus in the health centre. So particularly you, as some of you are international students, this may be the best location for you to register with a GP. They also do have a nurse there, and they have a range of health services available. You also have the number of counsellors there. So if you're feeling very anxious, very stressed, you're having other personal challenges, then you can arrange an appointment with a counsellor. There's also a telephone service, and there's also an emergency out-of-hours service where you can contact someone if you really are seeking support and help. Also, they have what we call disability advisors. So if you have a health or a mental health issue that may or will likely impact your studies, then you can talk to a disability advisor, and they will set up as necessary what we call a disability plan that is then made available to your topic coordinators, so that appropriate adjustments can potentially be made to particularly the way you're assessed. Okay. Another important point is, as well as international students, those of you who are international students and may have English as your second language, you can apply for English as a second language allowance, which means that you have some additional time allowed for written exams. So we also have OASIS, which is the Centre for Student Wellbeing, and they have a whole range of activities that you can participate in as you wish. International student services, very important for those of you as international students. There's a large crew of staff, as you can see, who are there to answer your questions, discuss any confidential matters, assist you in terms of visas, visa requirements, and as necessary, study plans, etc. They also, I think, organise some activities, social and fun activities, trips, short trips to different parts of South Australia. So if you haven't already, do get in touch with them or have a look at their webpage. So here are some other services available to you. And there is this online orientation topic, Finding Your Way at Flinders, that may be of value to you to have a look as well. There are videos connected to that. Each of the flow sites for the topics also has a section called Finding Your Way, which has a lot of links and important information more related to teaching, assignments, assessment, and so on. So they have what they call Connect Week, which is coming up from February 26th to March the 1st. And there's quite a few activities there, which you can also find details of on the internet. So it's important that you enjoy your time at Flinders, and although it is a full-time course and it may be hard to fit some of these extracurricular activities in, see if you can find time to look at what's going on, and if you can attend, please do. There's unfortunately not a lot happening here within the medical centre, so it is necessary to go to the main campus. In some cases there are activities, other activities down at Sturt as well. So the socials, and we don't actually need that one. Okay. So, any questions that I can try and answer about our support services? Okay. So just to finish briefly, as I said, I'm the course coordinator. And student engagement coordinator. What exactly does that mean? I oversee the teaching and learning aspects of the course, and as student engagement coordinator, part of that role is also to support you in any way that I can. So if you have questions or concerns about a particular topic, then by all means contact your topic coordinator. But if you're concerned, for example, about your overall progress, you're not sure what to do, you can come and arrange an appointment and come and have a chat to me. And I can help to direct you to the services that may assist you. So as I said, we are a small group of staff and we are a small cohort of students. So we will get to know each other well during the time that you're here, and I hope that you do find that we are very approachable and we want to help you. We want to help you to succeed in what is quite a demanding course, but we want you to challenge yourselves and become excellent professionals, excellent audiologists. So we can leave it there shortly. 3 or 4 of our second year students will be arriving and they can take you on in small groups on a tour. So I'm going to talk to you about EBL that we touched on this morning. This is, and you can see already I've omitted to change the key features to EBL. But the key features of PBL or EBL are the group learning. So you're in a small group of students and you do have a tutor, but the tutor role is more of a facilitator. So it is what we call student-centred, meaning that the focus is on your interaction and your working together in the learning process. So another feature is that obviously we're all adults, so this is a process of adult learning. And it's very relevant to your work as clinicians because it's context dependent. It's based on individual cases. It is also integrated, so it's integrated with foundation sciences, clinical techniques and assessments, technology and professional skills. So all these areas come into play in the EBL learning. And the cases are actually written, so the vast majority of the cases we use are based on real cases, but they're written and designed to promote specific learning objectives that are within our curriculum. So it's not that we've just pulled in any case. Really a lot of thought goes into the way the case is written and structured and the learning objectives that we're aiming for. So a definition is that it's the learning that results from a process of exploring and understanding a real-life case. It's also been called case-based learning and more commonly in the past years, problem-based learning. But there's no real universal definition or perhaps agreement on differences between certainly EBL, PBL and case-based learning. They're very similar, but in both scenarios, the case comes first in the learning process. So definition, the emphasis there is on the learning. So we're starting with a case rather than having information provided with case examples. We're actually beginning with the case. Okay. So what's the history? There are reports of various early attempts to do something like this. But it was really in the 1960s that in Canada at McMaster University, the whole medical program was designed using a case-based, PBL-based, as they called it then, approach. So it was really started by a group of academics there in the medical program that decided their students weren't really becoming engaged in the course and the course content, and they wanted to design a method of learning that would engage students and stimulate and motivate them and give them enjoyment in the learning process. So it did spread from there to various countries, including Australia. And in the 1990s, it was here at Flinders that the medical program, which was was only at that time a graduate medical course, they adopted the same approach. And then the Master of Audiology began in 1998 and decided right from the start to adopt this approach. So since then, it has been used quite widely across other health professional courses, but at Flinders specifically, the Master of Speech Pathology uses an EBL approach. As far as we're aware now, the other audiology programs, certainly in Australia, may use aspects of EBL, but don't use it in the way we do it, really at the centre, the core of our curriculum. So we talk about the process of EBL, and it's really a iterative process. That means we're following a process over and over during the sessions. And this is what you'll start to practice later this afternoon. So the steps or parts of the process are identifying key information, hypothesising about what's happening, what's going on, then inquiring and investigating, finding out more, reporting back, and synthesising, integrating and applying that knowledge to the case at hand. So, for example, if we were to give you information that we have a case and the subject of the case is a 72-year-old male. So that's the information we have, and perhaps we learn that they have some difficulties communicating. So we might then hypothesise, 72-year-old, perhaps he has age-related hearing loss, for example. So then the group would discuss and inquire and bring what knowledge they might already have about the case or the topics, for example, hearing loss or age-related hearing loss. But then the group needs to clearly find out more. So they need to set some goals for their learning and go away and inquire and investigate and report back to the group. So they might be thinking, okay, perhaps this client has hearing loss related to age. So what do we need to know? We need to know perhaps what age might we expect an individual to experience hearing loss as a result of ageing. So that might be our learning issue. So here we've got a little bit of an exercise to illustrate some of these points. So you can all see that picture. So can anyone tell me what they can see? Somebody falling. We can see that somebody's in the pool. Yep, we can see they're in the pool. That's a fact, isn't it? Yep. Anything else that you can observe there? You said it's a pool, we can see that. What else can you see? Oh, Okay, you think the feet are small? Yeah. Okay. There's no, you can't see a footprint here? Okay, yeah. There's a rail? Yep. Can we see anything here? It's wet? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's a section that's dry. Yeah. One rail, yep, yep. You get the idea there, some key facts. But when you said someone's fallen into the pool and someone said, I think it's a child, what's the difference there between the other things you told me? Assumptions, yeah. Assumptions, or we're making an inference, or if you like, a hypothesis. We're thinking perhaps they fell into the pool. Perhaps it's a child. What else might they be doing in the pool? A handstand, is it? Yeah, it looks like they might be doing a handstand. Or perhaps they're diving in. Diving under. Yeah, so all those, there's a difference in the physical, the obvious facts or the obvious physical features that we can see in the picture. And then there's a lot of questions that might come up, as well as hypotheses, we might say. Okay. So what sort of questions do you think we might be asking or want to find out more about in this scenario?
What is happening there?
But what could we go away and research and find information about to help us perhaps decide what had happened? No, I mean, what would you go away and look up? What would you go and maybe find a information on the internet or a journal article that could give you some evidence that might support your hypothesis, for example, that they could have fallen in? So we might, for example, be thinking about,
The signs for drowning.
The signs of drowning?
Yeah, the signs of drowning.
Okay.
Is it
Yeah.
an adult or a child? Because if it's an adult, probably just dived in, or if it's a child, probably could have fallen.
Yeah.
Like to identify the person, I think.
Yeah, although we can't easily do that by researching factual information. But we might find out maybe something about the surface here. Could that be, what do you think that could be? What sort of material? Concrete? Yeah. And we might find out about, well, is wet concrete slippery, perhaps? So we might want to find out about the properties of concrete or wet concrete, for example. So it's just a brief example to to get you thinking about, you know, what we know, what our key information might be that we're provided with, then the inferences or the hypotheses we might come up with, and then seeking the evidence that helps us support one or other of those hypotheses. And in that process, we're going to learn more about some of the issues related to that case that are important for understanding what's happened in the case. Does that make sense? A little bit. But I think once you get into the EBL, you'll understand the process. So you're not going to have the answers straight away. It's a matter of searching, investigating, discussing, and pulling together information from different sources. Oops. Oh, it's there. There we go. So there are 3 learning principles important in EBL. So activation of prior knowledge, contextual learning, and elaboration. So if we talk briefly about each of those. The case that you're working on will trigger for each of you some recall of previous knowledge. So you're discussing the case in light of your experience and your knowledge, and you notice that Flinders accepts, for our audiology course, accepts undergraduates from any degree. So we've heard this morning there are quite a number of different backgrounds that you have and that you bring to the course. And that's very valuable because you have the knowledge that you can contribute to the group from different areas. So there's discussion at different levels and from different perspectives based on that prior knowledge and experience that you have. And as a group, you're identifying also areas where you lack knowledge, and the idea is that gives you motivation to find out more, to discover more. So, but we need to be careful as well. Prior knowledge is important and contributes to the group, to the discussion. But the aim is not that a particular student will set themselves up as an absolute expert on a topic. Some of you, I think we heard this morning, have a background in speech and hearing in the undergraduate degree. So you do have some knowledge around audiology. But we need to be careful that the group doesn't rely solely on what that individual tells the group. It needs to ultimately be backed up by evidence from resources as well. So it is also best not to rely on one individual explaining something that they're very knowledgeable about, because the other students also need to work with that material and be able to develop their own understanding. So sometimes for those that do have that background knowledge and expertise, well, some expertise in speech and hearing, it may be necessary to hold back a little rather than setting yourself up as the teacher, as the expert in the group. Contextual learning. So this is what we mean by the fact you have a case, so you have a context about which you are learning. So because these are real life cases, each case is going to allow you to think back in the future and remember that case and what it was about, and that helps you to trigger your recall of that material. I remember in the past we've had our graduates who we've seen maybe a year or two after they've graduated, and they'll say, yes, I remember such and such a case, because they all have names, and that helped me to remember this particular condition. And they'll still talk about those cases. And also during the course, a new case will likely trigger recall of a previous case where some of the material will still be relevant, or where a review of some of the material might be necessary. So I guess part of the reason we've changed the name from problem-based learning is because it's not primarily solving a problem. You're not trying to, if you like, guess the diagnosis. That's not the sole purpose of the case, but it's to explore and to learn more within that context. Elaboration. Here we're talking about your own internal thinking and building of understanding and conceptualising, but also that external process within the group where you're explaining your knowledge or your findings to one another. You're also rationalising, you might be justifying why you think particular information is relevant or important. You will be clarifying for one another and illustrating the information in different ways. So we all as adults do have a wealth of experience, and this is what provides also the context for new learning. So this process is very important when working as a health professional of any type. But in audiology, for example, there are constant changes in particularly the technology that we're using. And so we need to be constantly learning. It's not once we graduate we have everything that we need. We need to be constantly updating and adapting our knowledge. So this is what you're learning to do as well within your EBL groups. This process of determining what your learning needs are, what do we need to learn to understand the case that we're working on, and going out and finding that information for yourselves to bring back to the group. So this is mirroring what you will do in your professional lives and your clinical practice. So learners in the group, you need to own that group process. You need to, as you work through the case, you'll define learning issues for the group based on the information you have, based on the need within the group. And then you need to seek and engage with the resources in independent study, independent work. And use these then to address the learning issues that you've set as a group. So when you come to the next session, you report back. So this is a process of each group member providing information about what they have discovered, discussing that information, clarifying it for one another, seeking clarification. Asking questions is an important part of the EBL process. It's just not a matter of providing information for everybody. It's also a process of, if you're not understanding something or you have a specific question or lack of clarity about a particular aspect, that you ask the rest of the group, what do you think about this? Or I don't understand this. Okay. So you're using that new learning to further understand the case that you're working on and build further learning. So it's always important to apply that knowledge that you've gathered and see how it relates back directly to your particular case. So you are active learners rather than passive learners. So some of you may have come from undergraduate degrees where the more traditional approach is used, where you sit in a lecture and you listen to what your academic tells you. Okay, and you accept that as the information that you need to know. So it's a very quite a passive approach. EBL is very much an active approach, so you're active learners throughout the sessions. And this ability to self-learn will foster that lifelong learning process. But you're also, of course, learning from your peers. But not only are you gaining knowledge, you're also gaining and developing your skills to work as a group, sort of teamwork, to some degree, yeah, time management, and also, of course, communication, your ability to explain or your ability to discuss information. And these also, of course, are very important professional skills to have when you're working as a health professional. So, yeah, self-directed learning. By that we mean a lot of the responsibility for the learning is with you, the students. So it shifts our understanding of what's happening in the curriculum from teaching, I'm just telling you stuff, to the learning part of it. So you are really central to the whole process as the students. You do have a tutor, but the tutor is a facilitator, is not someone that's going to impart knowledge to you. Okay. Many of our tutors are in fact not audiologists, and they could be said are the better tutors because you're not relying on them for information. Okay, so you have that control over what happens in the group in terms of selecting your learning goals and methods. Okay. So we talk about learning issues versus learning objectives. So what's the difference there? The learning issues are what the group identifies as areas that they need to explore. So following the at the end of the session, you will have perhaps a list of some learning issues, and you'll go back and you'll decide which ones still are important to focus on, and you'll talk about the wording of those to ensure everyone's on the same page. And then the group goes and researches those learning issues that you've identified as important for you to continue with the case. Then we have learning objectives. Learning objectives are those that are specified by the case writer. So we, the staff, have, in writing and developing the case, we've identified learning objectives that we would like the groups to have achieved through engaging with the case. Okay, so these you only find out what they were right at the end of the case. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you haven't completely covered every one of those by the end of the case. You'll complete a form that indicates for both yourselves and for the staff how well you feel you've engaged or dealt with that particular learning objective. And of course you have the opportunity then to go, if you need to do some more research on a particular area, that you can do so. But overall, all the learning objectives across the EBL cases in a topic, so Audiology 1 in this instance, will all be designed to describe the broader learning objectives of the topic itself, and therefore the content of the topic. So how does this process work? So week 1. So next week on Tuesday, you will be introduced to your Case 1, Tutorial 1. And then on Friday, you'll have the Tutorial 2 related to Case 1. And then week 2, you'll finish Case 1 in the 3rd tutorial, and then you'll move and you'll start Case 2. And then so on. So if there are public holidays that interfere, the pattern might change slightly, but this is the process. You have typically 3 tutorials per case, and in the 3rd tutorial you begin the subsequent case. So in the tutorial 1 on Tuesday, you'll be looking at your key information, hypotheses, needs to know for each of the pages that you work through. And you will develop learning issues, things that you need to find out more about. And then between Tuesday and Friday, you'll engage in some independent study and research regarding those learning issues. And then you bring that information back to share and discuss. And then you proceed, once you've had the reporting back phase of your tutorial, then you proceed with the next page in the disclosure, so you get some more information about the case. And again, you identify your key information, etc. And then again, more learning issues are developed, and then you have your independent study, and again you bring back your new knowledge to the group. And right at the end of that tutorial 3, the case learning objectives are revealed, and you complete what's called a student learning evaluation. So you can indicate how well you feel you as an individual have covered that learning, or all the learning objectives for the case. So your independent study, obviously there are a variety of resources. Often early on, some of the textbooks, the basic audiology textbooks, are a good source of information. Don't rely purely on doing a Google search or a Wikipedia search. We do want you to be looking for high quality sources of information. So that will include peer-reviewed journal articles on different topics. You will be provided with a list of references, but that's not the only source of references. It is expected that you'll certainly look at those or some of those, but you may well find other good sources of information. So we are anticipating that you often spend at least as much time on your researching as you spend in the tutorial during a week. And initially, it may take you more time to get into the process and the way of doing this. So rather than just as well sourcing articles, maybe reading a few articles and highlighting some information, you want to think about how am I going to report back this information. You may like to do a summary of some sort that you can then, when that learning issue is discussed with the group, that you have your information in front of you and can say, yes, I found out this and this and this, and I used this resource or this journal article, for example. So at the subsequent tutorial, at the beginning, there will be a case recap. So this is one member of the group will just remind the group of what's happened in the case so far, so that you remember the context, what's going on. And then you present your findings and discuss, compare, and then apply that new knowledge to explaining or refining your hypotheses that you've developed about that particular case. And then you continue with the next pages of disclosure. So the learning objectives and the student learning evaluation that I talked about, they do show what the case writers had in mind for the case. They allow you to give feedback to us as the staff about how well the case has led you to those learning objectives. So we always look at your feedback. You can also write feedback. There are some questions on the learning evaluation, and we will look at those when we're reviewing the cases for each subsequent year and see if we need to make any changes or tweaks to the cases as well. So that's an important part of those evaluations. So we haven't talked a lot about the tutor. I did just say the tutor is the facilitator. Okay. So particularly in the initial stages, your tutors will help guide you on that process and sticking to the process that we've talked about. So the tutor's not there to provide you with knowledge or even to clarify your knowledge. as I said, a lot of the tutors, two of the tutors you'll meet, some of you will meet two of the tutors today, or actually all three. One is an audiologist, and two of them are non-audiologists, but very experienced tutors. They've done a lot of tutoring over the years in the medical program, although the medical program has actually moved to a slightly different method. But they're very versed in keeping you on track and on that process. So the tutors do have a tutor guide as we call it. So they will also, if they feel you're drifting way off track or way away from the intended learning objectives, they will help to guide you back and maybe prompt you in terms of the discussion, maybe prompting you with some additional questions. So there are other roles within the group. So of course everyone is an active learner, but typically we have a chair and a scribe for each session. So the chair, and I've listed some of the main tasks here of the chair. So also ensuring that the process is followed is an important task of the chair. And this becomes even more important as you move through first year into second year, because in second year you won't have a tutor with you all of the time. Okay. Also encouraging all the group members to contribute. Some people may feel less confident, be a little quieter. So it's helpful for the chair to draw people out, to ask, have you got something to add to the discussion? So helping people to build their confidence and contribute to the group. Also summarising, even paraphrasing some of the contributions can be helpful. And also asking questions and promoting that good depth of discussion. So initially, the tutor will also help in some of these ways, but I think you'll benefit from thinking about, and I'll also put a hand up that gives even more detail about the sorts of tasks the chair can or should be involved in. So you can have a look at that when your turn to chair comes around, and keep that in mind. So the scribe is the person that is summarising and noting the information that all the members of the group are bringing to the discussion. So the scribe, and typically each session you'll have a different scribe and a different chair. So the scribe needs to be listening actively to what's happening and noting down important points. They may be checking with the group, should I put this down, or is this, have I understood this correctly? Is this what you've said? They need to try and express that information as clearly as possible, and even structuring the information. So it might be drawing of a diagram or putting together some sort of table that summarises that information. Writing quickly and clearly. Some of you, I'm sure, are good at touch typing, so they're often an advantage. Unfortunately, I'm not, but those that are able to type quickly will make particularly good scribes. So these days we've gone through a long history. I have been at Flinders for a very long time and doing original PBL tutoring was all on whiteboards and people taking their own notes as well. And then we moved to more having it on the whiteboard and people taking photographs with their phone cameras. But now, of course, there's a lot more use of web-based tools. So there's Google Docs, for example, is quite often used in the groups these days, or you have through your Flinders Okta access, there's an app called OneNote, which can also be used for this purpose of having a shared space where you're electronically putting together the notes from your tutorial. Okay. So there are, as I mentioned this morning, there are also what we call associated sessions. You're not just doing PBL, but it is a major component. So the course does integrate all of these different aspects. So you'll find the lectures that you have are related in some way, in most cases, to the case that you've just had. The practical classes also, what comes into the cases around clinical skills or assessments are also tied to the practical classes and clinical skills lectures that you will also have. Okay. So, why EBL? I think all the staff here, and certainly my colleague Saroj Kapadia, who retired a couple of years ago, he actually came from overseas with an academic background in a different area, auditory physiology. And he did our course, our Master's Audiology course, and became a staff member. So he'd done EBL as a student, and then he was a tutor, EBL tutor, and in fact did this introductory session for a number of years, and was a very strong proponent of EBL. But as it says here, it is hard work. It is challenging, and if you're not used to that way of learning, if you're used to a more didactic methodology, it takes adjustment, okay? But it is fun, and you do get to know your peers very well, and there's a lot of integration across the discipline, as I said. So you're learning about real life clinical cases virtually from day one, which stands you in really good stead. And we do have the comments from employers across Australia, particularly, that our students really have that ability to do clinical reasoning. They understand that process of clinical work, clinical problem solving. So I might leave you to read some of these, a couple of these slides yourselves. So there is some evidence around. It's perhaps a difficult thing to assess the actual outcomes and benefits of EBL, but there's certainly some evidence out there, as well as anecdotal evidence, that it is a greater retention of knowledge over many years, rather than something you're just told, and then it's far easier to forget. Sometimes we hear these comments, and in the early days of EBL, perhaps you might think some of these things as well, that it's inefficient, it's time consuming. Well, this certainly gets better as you get more efficient. I don't know what I don't know. Yeah, but a lot of lifelong learning is like that. I don't know how much depth is needed. Well, there is guidance there. So some guidance from your tutor. So in part up to you, how deeply you might want to go. And also the guidance from the lecture sessions. It's the blind leading the blind. Well, ultimately, you do want to be looking for evidence and authoritative, reliable sources of information, not just each other. It's non-linear, doesn't build knowledge. That's correct. Because we're integrating knowledge from a range of different areas. So it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is really because you'll find this in your real clinical settings. You need to be considering many different aspects at the same time. Or we're just going around in circles. My colleague Sarosh that I mentioned to you, he found this rather poetic quote that addresses this point. The fact that we're not going to cease exploring. We might find we arrive where we started, but we'll view that differently from when we first started is really the essence of what that's saying. So that, to some degree, encapsulates EBL, or an EBL case. Okay, that finishes that. What I will do now is all your case disclosures will be on Flow. So you'll see how that works when you go to the tute rooms shortly. So I'll show you briefly through my sign-in how to get onto the topic site. Have any of you already had a go at looking into the topic? A couple of nods. Yeah, so Eloise, who is topic coordinator for Audiology 1, she's put some information on there. I think she's put up the groups for this afternoon as well. She's also put a resource that gives you some, I think it's 12 tips for doing well in PBL or successful PBL, something along those lines. So that would be a resource to look at as well. So you may find it difficult and confusing at first, but your tutors are there to help. Now let me know if there are any questions, because we do have a little bit of time left. Any questions at all? No? Okay. Has anyone here actually done something similar in their past courses? Yeah? Mm-hmm. And was it very similar or more? PBL. It was PBL? Yep. And where was that, sorry? Medical science, yeah. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So some courses have what they call team-based learning, which is slightly different again. And there are different approaches to team-based learning. But no one else has experienced. Okay. Okay. Let me see if I can sign in. So this afternoon, as I said, there will be 4 groups. And we have 4 tutors. So you will have, you may have Sunula or Bruce, who are both experienced tutors, not audiologists. And you will have Lisa, some of you will have Lisa Callahan. And one group will have Eloise as their practice tutor. Okay. If you've got your computers with you, you might like to have a look and see if you can find Octa and Flow. There's all sorts of codes we have to put in. So. Go. So this is my Octa page. You might see quite a few apps that you don't need or you're not familiar with, but this is the Flow app. It looks like that. Okay. And then if we go into Flow, okay. Okay, so you can do a tour. And you should see a display, something like this, but not quite as many topics, because I can see all the topics. So this purple one is the Audiology one. So we just click on that. Now I will have let's put it on student view. So there you should see this. And we can click on modules. This is what I was talking about earlier this morning, finding your way. If you look through these, there's a lot of information in there. And then Eloise has set up this orientation and introduction to EBL. Oops. So, and I'll put up the recording and the slides from today in this section as well. And these are the groups. So you can have a look there and see which group you're in, which room. So the rooms are all, you would have seen on your tour, in the area and the clinical area, next to the clinical area, just on this same level. I'll show you where to go again shortly. And you can see the room number, so just make a note of the room number and the name of your tutor. So there may be people that aren't here today. There are a couple, but they may well be joining us on Friday. So you may find that there are some people there that aren't here this afternoon. So you won't necessarily have the same tutors starting next week. These are purely for the practice tutorials. We do have a couple of different tutors. There will still be 4 groups, and we have a couple of different tutors. Bruce and Sonula will still be tutoring next week, and we have 2 other tutors as well.
But it will be the same groups, right?
No, I think there'll be different groups probably as well, yeah. So normally each PBL term, you have a slightly different group. We mix people up so people get to know each other and work with other people. Yeah. So you will have EBL this term and next term and the first term in second semester. We don't have it in the 4th term in second semester. There will be a lot more information as well on Monday about the topics and the assessments, as I said before. So we're not actually due to start the EBL until about 2:15. So you're welcome to stay in here, have a break, or ask any questions. Come and see me individually if you'd like to ask something. If there's something you're not sure about related to anything that we've talked about today. But I'm sure if anyone has a question, probably there'll be other people in the group that have the same question, so do let me know.